My family's leaving my niece with us. They think we should be happy about it. At the door are my husband's parents and his sister, with her 2-year-old daughter. They've been asking us to look after her since they got divorced half a year ago. Instead of easing off, they're insisting we take her, even though we're not in a position to raise someone else's child. But things are about to take a surprising turn with this little girl. I'm Kelly Allen, and I'm 27. I married John, who's 29 and was running a restaurant when we got married 3 years ago. We hoped to have kids, but it didn't happen. Luckily, Jan has been really kind to us, making our lives busy but fun. I've hardly seen John's family since we got married because he's not close to them. The gap between them got bigger when he opened his restaurant. His parents worked at a big family restaurant chain, and they wanted him to join too. But John had his own dreams. I want to make dishes that everyone will love, John explained. But instead of understanding him, his sister treated him like he was attacking their family's restaurant chain. Are you saying our food isn't good enough? John must have found it frustrating that she wouldn't listen. After endless arguments, John gave up trying to convince them. I'd rather keep my distance from Mom and Dad. Okay, I'll stay out of it too, I told him, and we enjoyed our peaceful days together. But everything changed when Jan divorced and moved back in with their parents 6 months ago. One weekday during lunch rush, Jan burst into the restaurant. I'm here again. It's so quiet in here, she loudly announced, bringing her mother and her 2-year-old niece. They sat down without hesitation. You're back. Remember to keep it down, John reminded her. Always complaining. Anyway, I'll have the usual and make it quick. Jane never pays when she visits, and we were getting tired of it. I signaled to John that I'd handle it and stepped in front of Jan. There are other customers waiting, so if you're dining here, you'll need to pay like everyone else. What? You're actually charging family? How low can you get? Jan's outburst drew the attention of everyone in the restaurant. Please lower your voice, it's disturbing others, I politely requested, but she ignored me. This is all your fault. John's changed because of you. Her harsh words froze the atmosphere. My husband, stopping his cooking, emerged from the kitchen. If you're here to cause trouble, please leave. We can discuss any issues later. We'll address any concerns you have, so please stop causing a scene. But Jan continued to complain, ignoring both me and my husband. Even her mother, instead of reprimanding her, just urged her to hurry up and order. Seeing that we couldn't defuse the situation, we served them lunch. They left without paying, acting as if it was normal. But it didn't end there. Jan became even more demanding. You're looking after Riker today too. Every day, she declared, dropping off her daughter at our shop. But we're working. It's your job as a mom to take care of her, I protested. I'm busy. Since there are hardly any customers, you might as well help me out, Jane insisted, pushing her daughter's care onto us. To her, we were just free babysitters. To fully unload her responsibilities, Jan and her mother started visiting our restaurant frequently. I'm sorry about my family. I didn't mean to cause trouble for you or the restaurant, Kelly, John S. apologized after they left Riker behind and left. Our business wasn't booming, and their disruptions were part of the problem. Our regular customers, who preferred a peaceful atmosphere, stopped coming. It wasn't just about John anymore. Poor Riker was caught in the middle. Holding my niece close, I sighed deeply. We kept going despite the weight on our hearts. But a few weeks later, things took an unexpected turn with my in-laws. One evening, after closing the restaurant, Jan and my in-laws appeared at our doorstep. Instead of at the restaurant, they were at our house. When John and I opened the door, Jan abruptly handed Riker to us, looking bewildered. I'm leaving my child with you. Appreciate it. John and I were stunned, our eyes wide. What do you mean? I asked, though I suspected it was because we couldn't have kids. You're not busy since the restaurant is quiet, right? So you can be Riker's parents, she explained, deciding to completely abandon her niece. Even the grandparents didn't want to care for her. John's face flushed with anger at their callousness. This is too much. You're giving up on Riker. That's not right. I thought you guys, without kids, could handle her, Jan said, her tone tense. Riker, sensing the tension, nervously sucked her finger and looked down. But you don't have to worry about that. Take her back, I firmly replied. Kids need their moms. Even a 2-year-old knows that. You can't refuse. If there was a serious reason, maybe, but I can't agree to selfish excuses like it's too much trouble. I rejected her request firmly. We're busy with work, and honestly, I don't find a child with my ex-husband's blood cute at all. I said, shocked at my own words. That's something a parent should never say, especially not in front of Ricker. It's unacceptable. My in-laws sided with her, sharing her views. Jan and her parents would only make this poor child suffer, they said. Realizing this, I held Riker close, feeling a strong sense of duty. I have to make this child happy. So are you really okay with Riker being our child? I asked Jan firmly. She smirked. Of course, and I'll sell you all her baby stuff and toys. I don't need them anymore, so you better buy everything, she said, her parents smirking behind her. Not only were they avoiding their responsibilities, but they also wanted to make money from us. They were beyond redemption. But if it meant cutting ties with them, it was a win for us. When I talked to John about it, he agreed. Yes, we'll buy everything you're selling. But in return, stay away from us, I told him firmly. Jan stepped closer, asserting, don't act so superior. You're just a daughter-in-law. I was going to sell them anyway. Just be prepared for a big bill. After using us to their advantage, Jan and her parents left in a hurry. True to her word, Jan sent a box of Rikers' used toys and clothes, along with a hefty bill of $30,000. With the restaurant struggling and our finances stretched thin, I couldn't afford such extravagance for Riker. But I still had some savings from before I got married. No, this is too expensive. It shouldn't cost that much, I muttered nervously. Despite my concerns about depleting our savings, using items Riker was familiar with might provide her with comfort, right? As I anxiously waited for a response, as I watched my husband in silent contemplation, he finally agreed with me. You're right. Rhea would be happier with us than in her old home. Thank you, honey. Let's take care of this child together. And so, we ended up raising Rhea as our own daughter, alongside managing the restaurant. Without the in-laws around, our stress lessened, and both my husband and I cherished Rhea deeply. She was so sweet, and I felt inspired to do anything for her. But our lives weren't just about adding a new family member. What a busy day it's been. Indeed, who would have thought our restaurant would be so packed? At the end of a long day, my husband and I shared a laugh. Our once quiet restaurant was now booming thanks to a recent addition to the menu, an omelette that had unexpectedly gone viral on social media. What surprised us the most was how this idea came about. Who would have guessed it was Rhea's suggestion? As I affectionately patted her head, I recounted. While we were brainstorming new menu items, Rhea suddenly said omelette. It caught us off guard. Since we didn't offer omelettes at the time, I whipped up a special one loaded with eggs and topped it with our signature demi glace sauce. Following John's approach, we personalized each serving to suit our customers' tastes. It turned out to be a huge hit, and Rhea continued to lend a hand whenever I experimented with new dishes. She'd mumble names like Napoleon or pudding, and when John whipped up those dishes, they were a hit. Customers would exclaim, "This is exactly what I was craving," and happily dig in. With the old challenges of running the restaurant behind us, life became more exciting with Rhea around. I couldn't help but wonder if Rhea possessed some mysterious power. It seemed possible. The other day, when I couldn't find my glasses, Rhea was just staring behind a shelf. Lo and behold, there they were, tucked behind it. Wow, Rhea, that's incredible. Of course, it was all thanks to John's setup. When we praised them, Rhea and my husband would exchange happy smiles. They looked like they had always been a part of our family. Initially worried, I now felt confident about providing Rhea with a good life. Even in ordinary moments, I felt a profound sense of happiness. But then, something unbelievable caught my attention. What's this? Hey, come see this. John, glancing at his phone, exclaimed in surprise. Intrigued, I peered over to look at the screen, where a news article was displayed. The contents shocked me so much that my eyes widened. Can this really happen? Surprised, Rhea observed us, then grabbed a box of building blocks and slowly offered it to us. We shook it, hearing something inside. Is there something in here? I asked, meeting Rhea's serious gaze. If Rhea was this focused, there must be something important. We carefully examined the blocks and were stunned. An underlying anger began to simmer within me. To think she had hidden something like this. Unforgivable. Despite my anger, we knew we had to wait for the right moment. A few weeks later, in the dead of night, Jan and I were startled awake by the doorbell. Careful not to disturb Rare, we cautiously opened the front door to find Jolie standing there with disheveled hair. "Give me back my daughter, now." Her sudden demand left John and me exchanging looks. "Weren't you the one who left her with us? What's changed now? Weren't we supposed to stay out of each other's lives?" I challenged, but before we could shut the door, Jolie forcefully wedged her foot in, refusing to leave. "She's my child. I'm here to take her back," she insisted. We explained it wasn't possible, but Jolie kept pushing to take her daughter, causing a scene. Frustrated by her selfishness, I sighed deeply and crossed my arms. "Please don't take your frustrations out on us because of your work troubles," I said. Caught off guard, Jolie's face flushed red with embarrassment. "What? How did you know about that?" she stammered, clearly flustered. Recalling the recent news I had seen on John's phone, it was about a scandal at the chain restaurant where Jolie's family worked. They had been caught using expired ingredients to save money, leading to a widespread food poisoning incident. The backlash on media and social platforms had been severe, and the chain's reputation had taken a nosedive. Everything was fine until we gave up our daughter, and then this happened. "It must be because she's gone," I mused. Jolie, clearly facing severe consequences, erupted in anger. "What are you talking about? Rare has nothing to do with this." "No, she's not involved," I assured her. Since then, everything had been going downhill. According to Jolie, their troubles didn't end there. Her mother lost a wallet containing a large sum of money, and her father was involved in a car accident that cost $6,000 in damages. Jolie blamed Rare for their misfortunes. "Since you took Rare, your restaurant has been thriving. It's hard not to think she's involved." Her words left John and me speechless. While we couldn't blame Rare for all their misfortunes, we couldn't deny the strange coincidence. Maybe I should help them a bit. Despite their actions, it's hard to watch them suffer, I pondered aloud. But before I could say more, Jolie raised her voice sharply. "With that child, we would be secure, and all this misfortune would come your way instead." Her words extinguished any sympathy I had. "We will never give Rure back to you. It's only been a few months, but we've grown to love her as if she were our own. We can't hand her over to someone who only wants her back for their own gain," I declared, glaring at Jolie with a firm expression. "Don't speak to my wife like that. Your greed is apparent. I care for Rare far more than you ever did. I won't let her go, no matter what." "Please, leave," John added, his tone resolute. I couldn't forgive Jolie for treating her own daughter like a commodity, something to exploit. Our restaurant's success was due to John's meticulous attention to detail, seasoning and presenting each dish according to our customers' preferences. He had utilized hints from Rare to cater to individual tastes, offering rich flavors, light options, or a touch of spice. His creative plating, including edible flowers for Instagram-worthy dishes and generous portions for hearty appetites, had become a hit. While Rare had contributed to our success, it was John's dedication that truly made a difference. "She's not a cash cow to be returned," I retorted with disdain. Jolie's face twisted with resentment as Jan looked at her with pity. "No matter how much you protest, my decision won't change." "I don't want to see you again," Jan stated firmly. With calm resolve, I handed Jolie a flash drive that she hadn't noticed before. "Our misfortunes aren't because of Rare, but a consequence of actions like yours, right?" Jolie's face paled as she recognized the drive. "That's the one my parents and I have been searching for." "How did you get it?" "It came out of the toys," I replied calmly. "It might actually be worth what you paid for it," I remarked. The flash drive had been inside the box Rare handed to us, and considering her mysterious abilities, I believed there was a reason she had handled it. To our surprise, the drive contained data from a secret ledger, revealing receipts from suppliers and evidence of inflated charges. Rare's parents, former executives at the company, had been embezzling funds by overcharging for ingredients and pocketing the excess. The calculation showed embezzled funds totaling about $2 million. Rare had sensed something was wrong and hid the drive, along with some blocks. "I can't believe we missed it even after searching the house," Jolie muttered in disbelief. She snatched the flash drive from my hand, looking relieved. "I've already informed your company," she declared confidently, but as the reality of her actions sank in, she began to tremble. "No, if they find out about the embezzlement, our lives are over," she confessed, her bravado crumbling. Begging for forgiveness, she pleaded with us to help cover up her crimes. But her past actions couldn't be erased. My husband, firm in his resolve, advised against forgiveness. There's nothing more we can do but face reality, he muttered. As Jolie dialed the phone with trembling hands, tears streaking her face, I listened to her conversation with my in-laws. It was a bitter reckoning for them all. They screamed in shock and then asked to speak with me. As soon as I took the phone, my in-laws pleaded, "Please, you have to do something. We're begging you." I listened in silence, but after a moment, I took a deep breath. You must face the consequences of your own actions. Goodbye. With that, I ended the call and returned the smartphone to Jolie. Think about it carefully. If you truly want to raise Rare, I'll consider it. Is that what you really want? I doubt we'll ever see eye to eye, no matter how much we talk. Please leave. Your presence is unwelcome. If you don't, I'll have to involve the authorities. Jolie flinched and backed away, so I firmly shut the door without mercy. Peeking from the second-floor window, I watched as she walked away, her figure fading into the distance. That was the end of our connection. Later on, my in-laws and Jolie were dismissed from the company for their embezzlement. They were sued and eventually arrested. After serving their sentences, they would have to repay the $2 million they stole. Even after their release, they would endure the consequences for a long time. It's true what they say, you reap what you sow. Meanwhile, we officially adopted Rare as our daughter. Jen and I continued to manage our restaurant and witness Rare's growth. Our business thrived, and while the extent of Rare's abilities remained unknown, one thing was certain. Jen and I loved Rare more than anyone else. After all, she was our precious daughter,